So we are talking about the movie The Veil. This one is directed by Philippe Joannou, who also directed the Punisher Dirty Laundry short that starred Thomas Jane. This one also stars Thomas Jane along with Jessica Alba. Now this movie could also be called Cheap Jump Scares the Movie. So the story here focuses on a cult in America in the mid-80s initially, and this cult is led by Thomas Jane's character Jim Jacobs, although really he could have been called Jim Morrison because he looks exactly like he should have been in the Doors or something. Anyway, Jim Jacobs has been experimenting with life after death. He's without kind of giving anything away, basically how to escape the mortal coil. You'll see what I mean when you watch the movie. Anyway, him and his kind of following ultimately end up all dying in what appears to be a mass suicide. Now, is he just crazy, or is there some real kind of supernatural stuff going on? Cut to modern day, and we see a team of kind of filmmakers wanting to make a documentary with the only survivor of this kind of mass death, basically, who was only a very young girl when it all happened. And so they basically go to this kind of the location which was called Heaven's Veil, also known as The Veil, hence the title. And basically I'm trying to uncover what happens, and they basically discover an area of this kind of compound which was not found by the police, and all sorts of secrets come to the forefront. Now, was Jim Jacobs just crazy, or was there real supernatural stuff happening? Well, you can probably guess the answer to that one, so I won't say any more than that. So let's talk about the positives and negatives of The Veil. First of all, a pretty decent cast, obviously headed up by Jessica Alba, who surprisingly is somewhat understated in this role, I have to say, but also Thomas Jane, who looks like he's having loads of fun as this kind of crazy cult leader. So Jessica Alba's character is the kind of the leader of the pack of filmmakers, but she doesn't get as much screen time as I would have thought. There's also the other kind of female lead is played by Lily Rabe, and basically she is the kind of the now adult lone survivor of the kind of the mass suicide that happened in the 80s, basically. And as the film progresses, you'll get some real kind of like creepy moments. So there's some fantastic footage here involving the kind of a video camera and the kind of the way it's picking up certain things. I found that really good. It definitely has elements of extreme kind of like atmosphere and kind of creepiness. I think the set design looks fantastic, and there are some quite interesting designs in regards to some of the kind of the more supernatural and paranormal effects. The acting is all pretty good. The direction here, I think, is, although a couple of bits I'll come on to in a minute, it's to a good professional standard. It's just very much a sort of glossy, sort of Hollywood-style horror movie, which will lead me into the kind of the negatives, because it's a glossy Hollywood-style horror movie. So although it looks very well produced, it kind of looks a little bit too much like a typical kind of horror film that you'll see sort of churned out with no real edge to it. This film also relies so heavily on jump scares. I mean, I really am kind of pushed to think of another movie which relies so heavily on kind of cheap jump scares. There's so many in this film, and there's one that will really get you, I have to say, but it kind of just comes across a little bit cheap sometimes and a little bit unnecessary. And I think as the movie progresses, although it does have some good ideas, I would say, in the last act of this film, there are some kind of like some interesting ideas here. I think it kind of loses steam a little bit when there's kind of maybe there's possession stuff that happens, and I don't know. From that point on, to me, it kind of lost a little bit of steam for me and got a little bit sort of too silly for its own good. But it's slickly produced, and I think aesthetically it looks very good. So if you were a fan of the kind of the more sort of glossy sort of style, less edgy kind of horror films that you may have seen, then you probably like this one. I'd say you can do a lot worse. I'm going to give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.